So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. So listen, the next video, bro, is the top 10 people who the CIA fears the most. Now, you know you gotta be a deranged, psycho, mental, like crazy individual to be on this list. Like, you really CIA fears the most. Now, I don't mean necessarily that they scared of you. It could mean that, but it also could mean that they fear the most of what you are capable of doing. You know, what you're capable of pulling off, what you're capable of, who you're capable of killing, like all that type of stuff. That says a lot, bro, for your name to be on this list. And I'm anxious to hear the stories that come behind it. All right, so we're gonna get into this video, man. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the fam, and here we go. Uh-oh, something's on the screen. Let me hit. I got it. I think it's gone. Is it gone? No, it came back. Why did it do that? Hold on. Let me hit refresh. Boom, boom, refresh. And my computer being slow, but I got it.
There are some horrible people in the world, and we have rounded up 10 of the worst for you. Here are the top 10 people the CIA fears the most. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have Scott Erskine. We are starting off this list with truly one of the worst people I've ever heard about. Scott's story starts off when he was a child and suffered an injury that involved his head and brain. He seemed to recover fine physically, but continued to complain of headaches and that sort of thing, and it is unclear if these things were ever looked into further. At a very young age, he began to commit violent crimes against others that I truly cannot even speak about here on YouTube. He spent 4 years in prison for one of his crimes when he was around 17 years old, but when he was paroled after the 4 years, he immediately began committing crimes again. In 1993, Scott invited—
Basically couldn't be rehabilitated in prison. To which, do these prisons really rehabilitate you anymore? No, they stick you in a cell, give you a whole bunch of years or some time, and then when you come home, I'm guessing that's supposed to do it. You know what I mean? I watched 60 Days In, so you can see clearly what doesn't take place. You know what I mean? But this dude, from a youngin', fam, from a youngin', a little jit, he been committing crimes.
4 years, he immediately began committing crimes again. In 1993, Scott invited a woman who was waiting for the bus into his home and ended up holding her hostage for several days. After letting her go, he was quickly arrested and ended up being sentenced to 70 years in prison. This is when he had to submit DNA to a database, and in March of 2001, the DNA was matched when the cold cases of the unsolved murders of Jonathan Sellers and Charlie Keever were reopened. In 2004, a jury sentenced him to death, and 6 days later he was transferred to San Quentin. In an interesting turn of events, Scott did die on death row, but it wasn't due to a scheduled execution. Scott died a couple years ago in July of 2020 after contracting COVID-19. In our number 9 spot today, we have Dennis.
Wow. That's karma for you. That's karma for you. Dang, I ain't expect to hear that. Especially in that light. And this dude, he kind of gave off that, like, not because DMX wasn't a killer, but the whole go to jail, come home, and then go right back to jail. Like, I'd rather be in there, so I'm gonna do something to go back. You know what I mean? He give me that type of vibe.
Dennis BTK Rader. The BTK killer, whose real name is Dennis Rader, was one of the worst serial killers from 1974 to 1991. He left taunting letters to police and newspapers where he described his crimes, but thankfully his annoyingly large and misplaced ego is what led to his demise. Because he craved the attention so badly, in 2004 he started communicating with the media again to try and be all smug or whatever, but this combined with his utter lack of—
What do you look like? High school professor, college professor, science teacher, lab teacher. He looked like all of that, right? Could have easily been somebody we knew.
The attention so badly, in 2004 he started communicating with the media again to try and be all smug or whatever, but this, combined with his utter lack of knowledge on how technology works, led to him being arrested in 2005. Imagine getting away with those crimes for so long and your ego and your own ignorance does you in the end. During his trial, he didn't apologize for his crimes, but he did describe them in full detail, which is horrifying and honestly very unnerving. After his trial, he ended up being sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences with a minimum of 175 years. When Rader was first arrested and police were taking him to the station, an officer asked him, "Mr. Rader, do you know why you're going downtown?" To which he replied, "Oh, I have suspicions why." Ew. In our number 8 spot today, we have Chester Turner. Chester is an American serial killer who, on April 30th, 2007, was convicted of taking the lives of 11 women in the Los Angeles area, and on June 19th, 2014, he was convicted of 4 more that they were able to tie back to him. He has been referred to by prosecutors as one of the most prolific serial killers in the city's history, and if you know Los Angeles' history with things like that, that is not something to take lightly.
Just was talking about going to LA. It seemed like it never fails, right? As soon as you start talking about something, you start seeing all these articles pop up on your phone or news or something, or in this case, in this video, talking about a dude. Now, I'm not a woman, but still in all, my lady's gonna be with me. We going out there, now we gotta worry about stuff like that, like putting that in the forefront of your mind. Can you enjoy yourself at that point?
Los Angeles' history with things like that, that is not something to take lightly. In his original trial that led to conviction, Chester was sentenced to death, but at the fall...
Dude is really, has a smirk on his face. Really got, a smirk on his face. Look at him. He don't even care. No remorse.
Following one in 2014, he also received an additional death sentence. In the end, like with a lot of these kinds of stories, DNA came to save the day and help authorities find out who was committing these horrible, horrible crimes. In our number 7 spot today, we have Gary Ridgeway. This horrible human being is also sometimes known as the Green River Killer, and his crimes took place somewhere between 1982 to potentially as recent as 2001. He was convicted of 49 crimes but confessed to an unbelievable 71, which makes him the second most prolific serial killer in the United States in terms of confirmed killings. Most of his victims were either sex workers or women in other vulnerable circumstances, and through DNA profiling evidence, in 2001, authorities were able to connect him to 4 of his crimes. From there, they made a deal with him where they would spare him the death sentence in exchange for disclosure of the location of all of the missing women. Gary took the deal and was spared the death sentence, and instead was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Not only did he say that he chose the type of victims he did because they were, quote, easy to pick, and that he, quote, hated most of them, but he also called his crimes his career. I hate.
And we gonna keep this joke. Are you serious? I know we struck a deal with him, but can we take that deal back? This fool just said this was his career. This was his quote unquote 9 to 5. This was his retirement plan, pretty much. That, that comes with your career, your 401k, all that kind of stuff like that. This fool said this was his career. I don't think I've ever heard somebody put it like that. And we've seen some sickos.
Hate him. In our number 6 spot today, we have Charles N.G. Charles' story really starts off shortly after he moved to the United States on a student visa. He dropped out after his first semester, and soon after he was involved in a hit-and-run accident. He then tried to avoid prosecution by enlisting in the United States Marine Corps, using false documents that stated his birthplace was within the United States. He was arrested by military police a year later for stealing automatic weapons, and then somehow he escaped custody, headed back towards Northern California, and this is where he met Leonard Lake, who is another real piece of work. Charles did end up going away and serving a bit of time, but it was only 18 months, and then he was back with Leonard, and that is when the two started their crime spree together. It is believed that together the pair took the lives of somewhere from 11 to 25 different people. When Leonard was caught and brought in for questioning, he sneakily took a cyanide pill he had hidden in his jacket and took his own life, but Charles ended up standing trial. He was convicted for 11 of the killings and he remains on death row at San Quentin. In our number 5 spot today, we have Robert Picton. This horrible person is one of the worst Canadians to ever live and is one of our country's worst serial killers ever. Picton dropped out of school and began working at his family's pig farm, and this is where most of his absolutely horrific crimes took place. He was first arrested in 2002 and was convicted in 2007 of taking the lives of 6 people, but throughout an extremely lengthy investigation, evidence of many more killings came to light. During his time in jail, an undercover police officer posed as his cellmate, and Picton confessed to 49 crimes to him. Apparently, he was saying to the undercover officer that he wanted to take one more life to make it an even 50, and that he only got caught because he was sloppy.
Oh, no. Hey, guard, get me out this cell now. I don't care if I was undercover. Hey, I'm a cop, bro. Thank you for confessing, but I'm out of here with that last little message you just gave me, fam. I know you're looking to kill somebody. What? They should never put nobody in his cell. After hearing that, people are crazy.
The entire trial was a bit of a mess, but it led to a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years, which was the longest possible sentence under Canadian law at the time. This unfortunately does mean that he will be eligible for parole within the next decade, so let's hope that never ever happens.
What we need to do, what we gotta do. That person, no. Especially if he's still sitting at number 49. What do you think he's coming home to do? Yeah, I hope they do not let him out. That's scary.
In our number 4 spot today, we have the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer is one of the most well-known serial killers ever, and that is never a good thing. From 1973 to 1986, the GSK was responsible for taking the lives of 13 people, harming 50, and 120 different burglaries all across California. Throughout the investigation process, he used different tactics to both taunt and threaten police and the victims, which is just on a whole other disgusting level. Through recent genetic testing, like those 23andMe things, the identity of the GSK was finally revealed after years and years of investigations. Basically, they uploaded a DNA profile that they were able to get from the crime scenes to the website GED Match. They were able to find 10 to 20 people who had the same great-great-great-grandparents as a match. And then from there, the genealogist made a large family tree, and from there, they were then able to single out 2 main suspects. After covertly collecting DNA samples from one of the suspects and comparing them with the crime scene DNA, they were finally able to arrest Joseph James D'Angelo, who is the Golden State Killer. After decades of waiting, the victims of his crimes were finally able to see justice.
Look at him, pure evil. Look at him. I don't even like the little smug little look on his face and his mouth all frowned down. He just
served, as he was sentenced to 12 life sentences plus 8 years. He was spared the death penalty because he admitted to numerous crimes that he had perpetrated, some of which he wasn't even being charged for. He is now 75 years old and will definitely spend the rest of his life in prison. In our number 3 spot today, we have Rodney Alcala. Rodney is a horrible monster who was convicted and sentenced to death for 5 killings that he committed in California from 1977 to 1979. He also received an additional 25 years to life after pleading guilty to 2 other killings in New York from 1971 to 1977. Rodney got away with his crimes for a while because he wasn't the top of the list of suspects because he was said to be the, quote, charming photographer. Rodney is often referred to as the dating game killer because of his appearance.
Yeah, we remember him. And the lady that escaped.
Show, which, with what we now know about him, is absolutely horrifying. What's even crazier is that he
one of the luckiest ladies in the world, because that smile he had right there was a devilish grin. You know what he was trying to do.
Actually won the show he was on, but the episode's bachelorette refused to go on a date with him because she found him, quote, creepy. This is just a reminder to always trust your instincts. It isn't exactly known just how many victims Rodney had. It is potentially thought that it could be much higher than the number he was convicted for. In July of last year, Rodney passed away in prison at the age of 77. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Zodiac Killer. This one had to make it on this list today because while there are a plethora of terrifying people on this list, nothing is as terrifying as an uncaught serial killer, and the Zodiac is definitely the most prolific of them all. The Zodiac Killer took the lives of 5 people in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 1969. He was most known for targeting young couples or a lone male cab driver. Despite 2 people luckily and thankfully escaping—
See, that's one thing about cab rides or Uber rides or Lyft rides. Like the person, the Uber or Lyft driver or the cab driver, they got their back to you, bro. Easily for somebody to take advantage. Every time I got in like a Uber, and I haven't gotten in many, every time I thought about that, I was like, man, this person just, you know, they gotta be comfortable. You gotta be real comfortable with somebody randomly just getting in your back seat. At least back in the days, like the cab drivers would have that little plexiglass or whatever to separate the front seat from the back seat. You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's just straight up access. That makes me nervous for them.
His attempted evil doings, he has still never been caught. He was one of those losers who left notes and stuff for the police to find. I like that they think they're being all cool and clever and brave while they do that. Like, if you're so brave and almighty and unafraid, then show us your face. While no one has heard from the Zodiac since 1974, the case remains active in many different countries, and maybe one day we'll finally know who the real Zodiac is. In our number 1 spot today, we have Robert Hansen. Robert is often referred to as the Butcher Baker, and his story truly is horrific. He's one of the most prolific serial killers in Alaska's history because, for over a decade, he would kidnap women and bring them into the wilderness where he would then stalk them like prey. I am just now realizing that there is definitely an episode of Criminal Minds about this guy. Sometimes the premise—
Blacklist as well. I never watched Criminal Minds, but Blacklist, oh yeah, it's definitely a episode that resembles this.
Is just so dark that it sticks with you. The reason he got away with his crimes for so long is because outside of these horrific things, he was just a soft-spoken baker. One of my best friends has the nicest, most kind bakers for parents, and now I'm starting to feel a little suspicious.
See, that's what made me think, like, when you go to like a butcher shop, and you see somebody back there cutting meat, and they're all smiling and happy about, why are you so happy? Why are you so excited about blood and cutting meat and all this type of stuff? Like, yeah, add butchers to that list, bro. They make me, I definitely pay attention to them. You know what I mean? See how they be looking and weirdness. Just next time you go to a butcher shop, just watch the people who work behind the counter that's cutting the meat and stuff.
Want to look into them, Robin. Robert was heading to church by day and prowling strip clubs at night looking for the next person to take. What led to the downfall of this horrible monster was a badass named Cindy Paulson who was able to escape from Robert and was sure to leave evidence behind. She then went to authorities and told them what happened, and this led to a search warrant for Robert's property, which is where all the evidence they needed lied. Robert is believed to have taken the lives of at least 17 women, and in 1983 he was sentenced to 461 years and a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out.
How did they ever get to like a random number like 461? Why not just say 500? Or just 400? Like, how do you get to 461? Or, man, we like round numbers. 500. Give them that. Life. Or just easily just say life. That's it. Life, no parole. You know what I mean? But yeah, understandable why the CIA fears these guys and these men and women are. Was it any women on the list? Nope, I don't even think so. Oh, ladies, no, y'all be escaping the CIA most wanted type lists and stuff like that. Come on now, we gotta start looking, because there's some women out there that have done some crazy things. But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. And let me know what you thought about this video. Do you feel like somebody's missing? Or how do you feel about some of the things they did? Does it make you wanna, you know what I mean? Does it wake you up to pay attention to people more when you step outside your door? Are you profiling people and analyzing them? It's okay to do that sometimes. You got to in these days and times. Trust me. You have to. You know what I mean? So y'all get at me. Let me know what you think and stick around and stay tuned, man. Till the next reaction, I'm gone. Peace.